June of 1613, the world-famous Globe Theatre burns entirely to the ground, and William Shakespeare, the most famous writer of the age, decides to quit his life in London and return to his hometown, a small market town in the Midlands in England, Stratford-upon-Avon, and face up to the consequences of having been essentially an absentee husband and father for the previous 20 years, where he's become a massive celebrity, but where his place in the family has been almost invisible, and he comes back really to face up to responsibilities, personal and sort of spiritual. Judi Dench was very proprietorial and protective of Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway, Shakespeare's wife, 8 years older than him. She could not read or write. In history is really voiceless as a woman, but I think that Judi Dench wanted to give a voice to her, to have her register the intelligence, the power, the passion, the charisma that must have lured William Shakespeare and kept him in that marriage right to the end of their lives together. And so she was like a kind of lion in this part, and she was always on set ahead of me. You could see that she loved being Anne Hathaway and wanted to speak for her and have that voice be heard. It was a piece of sort of ritual magic. Shakespeare loved using magic in his plays. He loved transformations, and so I used to bear that in mind at 5:30 in the morning when I would sit in the chair and begin the 90 minutes that would give me a bald head and a long nose and a straggly beard and long hair. And when I opened my eyes at the end of that process, it was a piece of magic because I had disappeared, bar the eyes, and this other man arrived, and it was always a shock to catch myself in a reflection. But it really felt immersive, and it felt like I was safely tucked out of the way and I could go looking for the heart of William Shakespeare. Well, that's an interesting question. I enjoyed very much the early part of the film where, despite what people may imagine about a man who relied so much on words, Shakespeare was very silent. And I love the fact that the film and the story, this family story, it takes a while to gather its momentum because in families, silences are so often pertinent and loaded. So I suppose I loved playing the quiet part of William Shakespeare, but I also loved playing the man who turns, the man who also reveals how he could have written those plays in their most extreme moments, because his passion and the depth of his feeling is huge. So I enjoyed the revelation scene. I loved and felt very privileged to play a great scene that Ben Elton wrote between Shakespeare and the Earl of Southampton, which I had the great honor of doing opposite Ian McKellen, and that was a sort of a tremendous thrill.